Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be interviewing another Friday the 13th person, and I'm so fucking excited. I will be interviewing Tiffany Paulson, who played Susie, the cute curly-haired girl in Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. My second interview from that movie after Barbara Bingham several weeks ago, and I'm excited. She made like one other movie, and then she had like a couple small parts in a couple of popular movies, including Runaway Bride, and then she disappeared from acting, and now she's been doing behind-the-scenes work and stuff. She has a short film out, and she wrote the Disney Channel reboot of Adventures in Babysitting, which boggles my mind because the original is such a classic. I can't imagine anybody wanting to reboot it, but I'm going to find out about that a little bit today, and it's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to be interviewing Tiffany Paulson, and it's going to be pretty cool and stuff. I'm so lucky with the guests I get on this show, I can't tell you. So yeah, here is my interview with Tiffany Paulson. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I mean, I'm always happy to interview anybody from the Jason franchise. And I've always thought you were adorable with that curly hair you had back then.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a few years. I don't quite have all those dark curls anymore. Another lovely shade of blonde.
Well, you still look great even with blonde hair.
Aw, thank you.
My pleasure. So did you know at an early age you wanted to act?
I absolutely did, yes. From really young, that was my plan. I was a very small town girl and had a very small school, small town upbringing, and couldn't wait to get out of town and go be an actress. I was born in Washington State, and so the closest big city was Seattle, and that's where I headed about a week after I graduated high school.
Wow, my dad lives in Marysville.
Oh, okay, so you know it well. Yeah.
Yeah, a beautiful little town.
Yeah. So I am a Northwest girl, and I got right to Seattle and got the first commercial I ever auditioned for, which was a national McDonald's spot, and went, oh, this acting thing is going to work out well. And then, of course, I got a job as a waitress.
Oh, out in Hollywood?
No, I stayed in Seattle for a few years, and I had an agent up in Vancouver, Canada, which was where they were doing a lot of production. So, and also Portland. So I worked a lot in Portland and Seattle, and then Vancouver, which is where they ended up shooting Friday the 13th. And they still shoot almost everything up there.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. Did you do a lot of theater, though?
I never did a lot of theater. I was really an on-camera girl, and most of the theater people went to college and kind of got into theater programs, and I didn't ascribe to the philosophy that I needed someone else to teach me, their theory on acting. So I kind of just I got into classes, and I got into some on-camera classes and scene studies, but I never really went and studied theater and did a lot of plays, which in retrospect I probably should have done and wished I would have, because I think that's such great experience. But yeah, I never went that route.
Yeah. Plus, it's a lot of fun. It's like vaudeville or putting on the circus show or something.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. Were there any?
Yeah. Where are you calling me from?
Redding, California.
Oh, okay. So I'm in California also.
Yep. Yeah, you're in Los Angeles, right?
Yes, I am. Sherman Oaks, to be exact. But yes, LA.
Yeah, I've been
north.
Been trying to move down there the last 17 years, and it actually might happen next year.
Oh,
I'm originally from San Francisco, though.
Oh, that's beautiful, too. See, I prefer San Francisco because it's closer to that Northwest climate.
Yeah. Were there any movie stars that you were influenced by?
I wouldn't say that I was a very big fan of old movies. Like, I was really obsessed with The Wizard of Oz and Judy Garland, and would have loved to have, been a singer and more, singer, dancer. But I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I was a big, like I said, Wizard of Oz fan. At the time that I was going to work, there were a lot of cool filmmakers coming out, like Cameron Crowe did Singles in Seattle, and I remember we all auditioned for that, and then David Lynch was doing Twin Peaks, and we all auditioned for that, and Cheryl Lee, who ended up being Laura Palmer, very famous.
Yep.
We were at the same agency, and I think I probably got submitted for Laura Palmer too. So there was that time when a lot of those cool projects, cool iconic films and TV projects were coming out that I think kind of influenced us all. It was that 90s cool, grungy culture in Seattle.
Yeah. I'm going to be meeting Cheryl Lee and a couple other cast members of Twin Peaks at a convention next weekend.
Oh, which convention are you going to?
Sinister Creature Con in Sacramento.
Oh, cool. I wonder, do you know Mikey Perez then?
I've heard the name.
He's kind of like, and I don't know if it's like, I'm air quoting, like a manager, because I did my first horror convention this year in Atlanta. I was at Days of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
So I met Mikey he'd always invited me to the conventions over the years, and he represents Barb as well, who I know you talked to.
Yep.
And so we ended up meeting, and I went to Atlanta, and I know that he represents Cheryl, so you'll probably meet him.
Mm-hmm. Eventually. I meet so many people. It's insane. So how did Friday the 13th Part 8 Jason Takes Manhattan come to you?
I was making the rounds auditioning, and I had ended up getting an agent, like I said, in Vancouver, and got called in to audition. So I drove up from Seattle to Vancouver for the first audition, and my boyfriend at the time was also auditioning for the part of Susie Donaldson's boyfriend in the movie. So that was the first audition, and then I ended up getting called back. My boyfriend at the time, his name was Jim, which was kind of funny because the character who plays my boyfriend in the movie was Jim. And so I just remember on the second callback, we were up there again, and I was going in to read, and my boyfriend was out in the hall, but in the movie, in the dialogue, I had to call for Jim. I get up, and he's gone out to check on a noise, and I'm very scared, and I'm like, Jim? And it was, I think it helped the audition and the performance because I got to pretend like I was talking to my actual boyfriend who was out in the hallway at the studio where we were reading. And so I think I had to go back and forth. I probably went up there 4 different times, 4 callbacks, and they kept whittling it down. And I remember getting the call that I got cast, and it was my first big studio movie. It was Paramount Pictures, so it was really exciting. I had done a lot of, tiny part commercials, local things, but it was my first big studio, big budget movie, so we were all very excited.
Mm-hmm. Now, had you seen the other movies?
I was, sad to say, not a big horror fan. I'm a romantic comedy girl. I don't really love horror movies. I mean, I of course knew that Jason was super iconic, and at the time, I'm sure if you've seen it, there's the part where there's a little slight wink to some nudity, and I was very, like I said, small town girl. I was so nervous, and my agent was like, "Look, did you see Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween?" And reeled off this list of actresses that had gotten their big starts in horror movies, and it was no big deal. So, yeah. So I knew that it would be a very good thing for my career to be in a really successful, iconic horror film franchise.
Yeah, I think that, in my opinion, the series lost originality after part 6, but I like the idea of taking Jason out of Camp Crystal Lake and putting him in New York City. And when I met Kane Hodder last year, I got an 8x10 of him as Jason in New York City, standing in front of the Coca-Cola billboard. It was pretty cool.
That's very cool. And Kane, I will tell you, is one of the nicest people that I have ever met. And I got to spend some time with him again in Atlanta after all these years. He was at the same convention I was. And just such a nice guy and so much fun to work with. We had a really great time on that shoot, even though I was, my scene ended up getting cut. I don't know. I think we're like the opening 10 minutes or something. It's memorable because we're the characters that bring Jason back to life, but I actually got to work. I worked on that probably like a week or two that we took just to get that, because we were on a boat, off a boat, in a sound stage, had to build a boat to kind of recreate. So I got to spend a lot of time with him and the other cast, even though I was kind of killed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was at this convention in Pasadena, Monsterpalooza, and I was there all 3 days. Friday night, he's got this long-ass line, and I'm meeting the first Jason, Ari Lehman, and Ari is signing my DVD cover, and Kane comes up and pinches him in the elbow, and Ari smears his name across my DVD cover. And
oh no!
Yeah, and I said, if I don't get to meet Kane this weekend because his line is so long, I'm going to count that as his signature. And so I was the second one in line on Sunday, so I got to meet him that Sunday.
That's good. Did you get to replace your DVD cover with a better signature?
Oh no! I got everyone's name on it that I wanted, and that one stands out the most, and I treasure it.
Yeah, well, you have a great story now, so that's fun.
Yeah, but he was a very nice guy, very nice.
Yeah, he really loved his fans, and always he spends so much time with his fans. That's why his lines get so long, because he's just so cool about taking time and answering questions and doing photos, and I really found him such a great guy.
Mm-hmm. Were you satisfied with your death in the movie?
I think I died pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was very similar to a couple other people's deaths in the other movies, but it was pretty cool. And I tell everybody from the series who comes on here, if I was ever to be killed by Jason, I'd like to be tickled to death.
That would be a long death scene.
Yeah, well, I'm such
There's a story behind that scene in that originally that wasn't written in the script. That's not how I was supposed to die.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, that character, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but what would you do if a rabid serial killer was chasing you on a boat? Most people would jump into the water and swim for their lives. And so Susie was originally supposed to jump overboard. And then I believe she jumped overboard, and then he still shot her with a spear gun, but it was in the water as she was getting away. And because we were shooting, I think it was January, I want to say, in Vancouver. It was definitely winter, and it was so freezing. And then they would have had to hire a stunt double because they wouldn't let me jump in the water. They ended up rewriting that scene entirely, and it was cut and changed, and so what you see is the kind of on the fly revision of how do we kill her and keep her on the boat and keep the budget down. And I ended up hiding in the hull of the boat.
Well, it turned out pretty good, So I can't remember, somebody in part 3 also got shot with a spear gun while they were on a canoe or something. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was pretty similar to that.
What's your favorite one?
Well, the first one is my favorite slasher movie of all time. But but like I love 1 through 6. I think those are all great. There's some things I like about Part 7 and Part 8 and stuff. 9, I can't stand 9. I think New Line killed the series after that. 10 was pretty cool.
They're making a new one.
Yeah. I heard that they're making a new one. We're all hoping that Adrian King comes back in the new one. But
that would be cool.
Yeah. Part 10 had some cool things about it, even though Jason was in space, and a lot of people thought that was too far-fetched. I thought there was some cool stuff in it.
That's funny to think that you could even be too far-fetched with the series.
No, but put him in space, and he wasn't, and he was like a real person who was alive. He wasn't like this mythic, character like the tall man in the Phantasm movies or something, or Pinhead in Hellraiser,
Was he in a spacesuit? Was he trying to be an astronaut, or did he stow away?
I only saw it one time.
Did it take place in the future, and I never saw it. People were just in space.
It did. It took place in the future. I only saw it one time.
Okay.
I can't remember the whole plot, but yeah.
That's funny.
It happened in the future, though. But did the whole cast get along well?
Yeah. It was a really great group of people. From what I can remember, everyone was so nice. I do remember, there was a different guy that was originally cast as the male lead.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was some craziness that happened with him. I think he had a fall and he did something to his face, because I met him at the table read, and then they ended up bringing in, by the time we got to shooting, Scott Reeves ended up replacing him, and he became the lead in the movie. And he was hanging around on the set, and Jensen, and they were lovely. And VC Dupree was just a really cool guy, and of course Barb. So it was, for me it was a really fun shoot. Kane, of course, and just the production people too. I remember were just all lovely, and I stayed in touch with so many of them for the longest time, trading Christmas cards, and Rob, the director, it was his first movie, I believe. He'd been a writer. I think it was his first directing job. He wrote and directed it, and it was just a really great, fun time. I want to say we were shooting at this school that they used for sound stages, where they had rebuilt kind of the interior of the boat, and done some really amazing set building. And so we spent a lot of time together in close proximity, and it was a really good time. It was a really great experience for a first big movie for me. That's
good. Yeah, Barbara told me that she was mentored by Peter Mark Richmond on the movie.
Yeah, he was a really cool guy too. Yeah, kind of the senior.
Yeah.
The senior actor in charge there.
Yeah. Oh, he's the most prolific TV actor of all time.
Right.
Yeah, over 500 TV appearances, which is amazing. And I was listening to a couple podcast interviews he did recently. The man, he's in his 90s now. He can barely complete a sentence, but he still does interviews, which is amazing.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And then after...
Yikes.
Yeah.
Makes you feel nice and young.
Yeah. So after you did that, you did Daredreamer.
I did.
It's a bizarre movie.
You've seen it?
Yeah, many years ago.
Oh my gosh. That was an unusual one, but at the time, it was filmed Seattle, filmed locally. Tim Noah, who starred in it, was such a big deal. They were really excited to get him, that production company. It was a pretty good budget for indie in Seattle at the time. And I remember, that was a pretty big part for me. And I got in, during shooting, it was wintertime again, I got in a car accident.
Oh.
And so between takes, I was wearing a neck brace. I had my arm in a sling, and my scenes ended up being cut way back because I was in so much pain. I was really limited to what I could do. So that's one of the memories that sticks out about that production at the time.
Wow, I had a car accident 3 years ago, and I was in a coma for 30 days.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it sure was. And I spent 5 months in the hospital.
Oh, my gosh, I'm so sorry. Did they know that you were going to wake up? Was it medically induced, or they just crossed their fingers and hoped?
It was medically induced. Yeah, they were predicting I was going to be dead, but I woke up on my mom's birthday, which was a miracle.
Oh my gosh, that's an incredible story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I wouldn't be talking to you right now if that accident didn't happen, because I was a lost soul during that time, I'll tell you.
Wow, that's incredible. It's amazing how life kind of knocks you down and forces you to start over in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
For you, wow.
Oh, thank you. You played a reporter in Runaway Bride.
I did. That was one of the big, exciting, cool things of my career. I was such a fan of Gary Marshall.
Mm.
He was one of my most favorite people and such an iconic director. So to get to work with him, and it's funny, like the story of my career is I usually start out with much bigger parts and they end up getting cut down. That was also shot in the winter in Maryland, and they had given me this great part of the reporter, and at the beginning of that scene, Gary wanted me standing on top of a news van.
Mm-hmm.
It was really precarious and scary, and not that you would remember or need to remember, but the scene has about 100 extras in it. It's a really long shot where they're going in and out of the crowd that's formed around this church on the day of the wedding before Richard Gere's character gets there, and we're all reporting on the chaos and the excitement. And they put me up on this top of this news van, and I was the last line in this very long tracking shot, and it was so freezing. I was literally shaking, and by the time the camera got to me and I had to deliver my line, the line that I had was, and it's seared into my brain, the original line was, the question is not will the marriage last, will the ceremony? And by the time they get all the way up to me and Gary Marshall like hand signals like for me my line, and I'm shaking and freezing and scared because I'm standing up on top of this van, I go, the question is not will the ceremony last, will the marriage? So I completely ruined the line, and then I did the one thing that actors are never supposed to do right on camera. I went, oh shit, I just completely ruined that line, didn't I? Like, you're never supposed to call out that you messed something up, especially on camera. So
yeah,
my big moment working for Gary Marshall, and I ruined the line, and he goes, cut, get that girl down, get her off of the van. I couldn't handle the pressure, but he was so cool. He gave me a couple more chances to get lines right, and that's one of the things that ended up getting cut down, but I had some great moments with Richard Gere and chasing after him and had Mike, and then I didn't think I was going to end up in the movie at all. I actually got a letter from Gary Marshall, who, this shows you what a sweetheart he was of a director. He sent me a letter saying, thank you so much for your work on the movie, and I'm so sorry, but in the final cut, we ended up cutting this character. So I was super sad, but so nice that I had this lovely letter from Gary Marshall. And then when the movie came out, it ended up that my part was back in. So it was small, but I ended up getting to be back in there. So it had a happy ending.
Oh, yeah. I interviewed Gary's niece, Tracy Reiner, about a year ago, and she told me just how loved he was by everybody, and how loyal he was to everybody, and just, the things he did for people that nobody ever forgot,
Well, you see the same people were in his movies over and over and over again. And,
yep.
And when I started writing and I was at ABC, he ended up coming in to talk to this group of writers that I was in. I was doing a writing fellowship at ABC Disney, and got a chance to talk to him and remind him of that story, and we had a good laugh over it, and he remembered it, or claimed to remember it. So it was fun to get to see him again later.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, it's no Pretty Woman, but it's a pretty funny movie.
Yeah, whatever those two had going on, they had some kind of chemistry that worked on screen.
I know, I'm hoping they do another one someday. That'd be great.
I'm sure somebody somewhere is trying to make that happen.
Yeah. Now, after you did the next best thing in 2000, you disappeared from acting. What happened?
What happened was I moved to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I did that thing that girls do, which is I met a boy, and he said, I will not marry you unless you move to Chicago. And I went, oh, okay, I better go then. So I put all my stuff in storage, and I moved to Chicago, and I started writing, and which is something that I had always wanted to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked some in Chicago. I did some independent movies there, but there was just not the same kind of movie scene. Chicago is such a theater town, and which you asked me about earlier, it would have been better had I had some theater stuff on my resume. I could have worked a lot more in Chicago, but I started writing, which is something I always wanted to do and always loved. And the first script I wrote while I was in Chicago, I sent it off to this pretty prestigious competition run by the Academy Awards called the Nichols Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And not even knowing what I was doing, I ended up becoming a finalist for the Nichols Fellowship. And so from that, I got a manager and came out to LA and started taking some meetings as a writer and pitching other ideas. And I went back to Chicago and I wrote a second script kind of that came out of those meetings. And with that script, I ended up submitting it to and winning the ABC Disney Writing Fellowship, which is another highly prestigious competition. And they, at the time, then the boyfriend wasn't working out and decided not to marry me. So I had this kind of free ticket to come back to LA, and they pay you for a year, and you're kind of immersed in writing. And at that time, I thought if I wanted to be taken really seriously as a writer, I wanted to just focus on that and not kind of be trying to audition and keep up the acting thing. So I just kind of switched focus and got really lucky that things just fell into place for me as a writer, and did that fellowship for a year, and out of that, got my first studio job writing Nancy Drew for Warner Brothers, which ended up getting a green light with Emma Roberts and getting made. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of just ended up going down that path, and that's what I've been doing.
Wow, what a crazy turn of events! You saw that you did the remake of Adventures in Babysitting.
I did, which I originally wrote. That was such a classic movie. I originally wrote that for Disney with the original producers. And at that time, we had Miley Cyrus. It was always going to be two babysitters, but it was Miley Cyrus and Raven Simone were attached. And then she was also doing Hannah Montana at the time, which was such a juggernaut, huge Disney. And then the writers were going on strike, and there was a big race to see which script would come in sooner and which script the studio would choose. And so they had both of our projects, and at the time they felt like Hannah Montana was the more surefire, safe bet. And so they made the big screen version of Hannah Montana. They put a pin in my movie, and, it kind of just sat there for a few years until it ended up, somebody at the Disney Channel had read it and said, this is so good, why don't we do it as a big movie for Disney Channel? And they bought it from their parent studio, from Disney. We kind of did some rewriting to, I don't know if you remember the first one. It's pretty edgy.
Yes.
The first Adventures in Babysitting. So it had to be Disney Channelified, which we did. And they were looking for a really special project to be their 100th, they call them DCOMs, Disney Channel Original Movies. And we got picked. And so that was a really big honor to be their big summer or tentpole movie. And it was, it came out with Sabrina Carpenter and Sophia Carson, and it was the highest-rated cable movie across the board for 2016. So did really well. I'm really proud of it, and so that was a fun experience. And I think we did well service to the original.
Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was cute, but nothing beats the original. I mean, the original.
Well, did you do your
Yeah, it's so damn funny, and all the sex jokes Anthony Rapp does and everything. It's so funny. Um, and you directed a short film called The Swan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is that available anywhere?
I need to figure out what I'm doing with that. That's I started directing about a year and a half ago, and that was the first project that I directed, and it ended up winning a couple of Best Picture awards at some festivals, and was an official selection at Palm Springs, and so it's been on Vimeo with my password, but all my team that did it is like, okay, now it's time you can put it up on YouTube. So I'm probably going to just make it available to watch. I haven't done that yet because I was still submitting it to competitions. And yeah, so now I'm writing and directing and planning on doing more of that, and just continuing to write and create. And I have a couple projects going at Netflix. I'm in the adult space, but I'm still writing for kids and family as well. And who knows, with the acting, I could start doing that again, which I think would be really fun.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. What's your secret to not aging? Because you look great.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish that I had a secret. I don't know. I think kind of just being a happy person keeps you young. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I won the kid jackpot. I have a great kiddo, 7-year-old, and we're super fortunate. I have a beautiful little spot here in California, and good friends. And let's see. I do yoga.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make me run up a hill. I'm really flexible, but I couldn't run up a hill to save my life. But I think just kind of like being happy and trying to find the positive in this currently crazy, scary, chaotic world that we're living in,
Yeah. Oh, God, it's just insane right now.
It really is. We're all kind of just holding on and waiting for the carnival ride to be over so we can get off.
Yeah. So have you been invited to any more conventions?
I know that there's nothing scheduled right now. I know that next year, I think, is oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, the 30th anniversary of our Friday the 13th. So I think there is talk of doing a whole kind of cast reunion at one or two of them.
Mm-hmm.
See? I know they don't like to book you too often to keep it exciting, and there's so many people that the fans want to see. I think that it's nice to spread them out. So hopefully we'll do one next year. I know everybody is, but I'm super busy. It's hard to like I said, I have a 7-year-old to kind of leave and go. But I'll tell you, I had such a great time in Atlanta. I always, like I said, they've been asking me for years to do them, and I thought, why die right away? Nobody's really interested, and I'll have this empty table. But it was so much fun. I met so many fans, and just kind of, the love and support. I always say horror fans are like the best fans in the world. I still get fan mail. People send me stuff to sign. I get the nicest letters. So, it's an honor to have been killed by Jason and be considered part of the iconic horror family. So I'm proud of that little fact.
Oh, as you should be. And I hope they invite you to Monsterpalooza next year, because I'll definitely be there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I will investigate that, and I hope that if I'm there, that you'll say hello and we'll get to meet in person.
Oh, of course I will. I've met so many of my guests in person after interviewing them and stuff, so that's a given.
Well, it was so nice to talk with you, Tommy, and thank you so much for, wanting to even take the time to have a chat. It was really fun.
Oh, absolutely. I thank you so much, and I'm glad you're doing so great, and have a great day.
You too, and I wish you all the best, and keep up the really cool work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Tiffany. Have a great day.
Right,
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Tiffany Paulson. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Tiffany. I really hope I get to meet you in person because you seem like a very cheerful, upbeat person, and you're great to talk to, and I'm glad this second phase of your career is going so well. It's crazy how things turn out in life. They never turn out the way you either planned, hope, or wanted to, but then in the end, some great things happen, and you're glad it did. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.